Hey, what's going on, guys? Phil here, and welcome back to some Mechwarrior news in general. For those that don't know, Inad Global 7 bought out Piranha Games. It's been over a year now, and EG7 as well, just refer to it from here on out. They are a public company, so all their information is public. They do quarterly reports, yearly reports, so forth and so on. This is actually a video that they're talking about Piranha Games and Mechwarrior and specifically. I haven't watched this, so we're just going to go ahead and listen to. I know there's a lot of numbers on here, but I think there's some pretty relevant information. We're also going to be checking out some slides and information that I think sort of leaked a little bit, or at least showed the cards of Piranha Games and the potential future of the Mechwarrior franchise in their hands. So let's go ahead and dive in here. I'll turn up the volume just a bit here.
Piranha, great year so far. So Piranha, Mechwarrior 5 performed reasonably okay. But with that said, the DLCs have been performing really well. And Mechwarrior IP is an interesting one because it's not a mass market IP, but it's a very hardcore IP where there's a fan base that just love it. So
it's interesting. He said it didn't do too well. That actually isn't surprising. For those that are wondering, I think Mechwarrior 5, when it launched on, obviously Epic Games Store, that was prior to them purchasing Piranha Games. But we can see here, you can see the net revenue here, and then the margin, so forth and so on. So again, 2018 when the game was launched, 2019 net revenue spike, and then it wasn't the best here, but I think that's for a specific reason. But it's interesting hearing them talk about it.
Every time we get a DLC out, they come back to pay for it and play it, right? So that's why you see so far LTM period, you see a nice jump because we got a DLC out. And, we have a new DLC coming out relatively soon also. And then, we have a new game that we announced with Mechwarrior 5 Clans that's coming out in 2024. So along with Mechwarrior franchise, we're able to continue to drive nice results for Piranha. And then 50% of their staff is also doing, work for hire. And
that's actually something we've, me and Magic Pen Glove has talked about, is the work for hire. For those that don't know, that's basically them, divvying their staff out to different projects, sometimes other studios. This is, by the way, quite common in the industry. This isn't anything new. It could be a studio needs help because they're, crunching, or they just have a lot of work to meet the criteria for, launch and deadlines and stuff like that. So the work for hire isn't really anything strange, especially in the gaming industry. This is one of those things, though, is you hear them 50% of the studio, even though the numbers, we've recently heard that from Darren and Matt, that Piranha Games is as big as it's ever been, is also 50% of those people are not working on Mechwarrior titles. So that's actually quite interesting. Let me go ahead and go back to his statement about DLCs and the uptick here. What's interesting is he sort of, I would say, reinforced. I think a lot of people at the very beginning did not purchase the main Mechwarrior 5 Mercs game. We'll just refer to it Mercs. Mercs right off the bat until the DLC started rolling in, and then the game itself and the quality of the game started to improve with a lot of the quality of life features. And, so it sort of makes sense that the base game itself, once it left, Epic Games Store, it's also on, Game Pass as well. It's on Xbox and PlayStation, but I think the majority of sales are probably PC related. That's just my presumption here, but I'm not surprised to hear that with the increase of DLCs and the free updates that have happened to the base game, that the sales have also gone with that. And keep that in mind. That's actually really important. If you've been sitting on the sidelines for Mercs and we're about to get DLC 5, maybe you picked up Mercs on DLC 4 and you got all of it together on sale. You felt that the value is then worth the squeeze, if you will. So I'm not surprised to hearing that. Keep in mind, what's very, very blatant in a video like this is pure business. This is pure business. And as a fan, it really hurts me just to hear it's just numbers, but that is the reality we live in. And it's very important for you as a fan, just like me, to understand where devs are coming from, or in this case, owners and publishers and so forth and so on, when they're looking at the numbers. So And he mentioned there too that he didn't use the word niche, but he basically said passionate group that keeps coming back when we deliver product, basically.
And at great margins as well. So they're able to really continue to drive their business forward. So we're excited for them to see what they could do with not only Mechwarrior IP, but building out that additional capability, or really rebuilding it, because that's what they used to do on the work for hire. But they're seeing a nice momentum there.
One thing to note, let me turn this back to 1080. One thing to note is he talked about margins there, and I'm assuming I'm not, like business savvy, or I don't work in the industry, but when he speaks margins, I think what they're basically saying is, hey, how much does it cost to develop a DLC versus how much are we making from sales? And obviously now that they've got the base game in a state, then they can just invest in the content, and so that sort of price and the gap shifts. The margin, I guess that's the proper term for that. So again, not surprising there, but it is surprising here that 50% is dedicated towards other IPs.
But more to come on the new game. We're excited for that new Mechwarrior 5 Clans game. When we look at Mechwarrior based IP based games, we're not thinking that we're going to sell millions of units. That's not the point. The point is it a good investment or not? Meaning, how much money are we investing? What do we expect to get out of it? It's a significantly positive outcome when we do the math as to what we expect from it. So Mechwarrior Clans going out next year, in terms of how much money we invested, well, we expect the performance to be. We're not thinking, hey, look, it's going to be way better than Mechwarrior 5. We based our projections based on how Mechwarrior 5 performed. And that is the baseline for how we think about how the Clans game could perform. And it's going to be a nice outcome for Piranha and overall group.
And again, just to sort of reference, this is a business. That's how they're looking at it. That's how investment works. We may not like it as fans. We think maybe the IP is amazing, and if it was in the right hands or whatever, it doesn't really matter. It's what the market and what they're looking at. So they're looking at Mech 5. How's it sold? Didn't it do very well? It's picked up steam. The DLCs have done well. The margins are good now. We expect that and you can imagine from their perspective of, if you're PGI building a new game, Mech 5 Clans, that your baseline of what you deliver from the very beginning is going to be higher than what the baseline of Mercs will. At least you'd presume that, right? Just like how the DLCs improve the base game. You'd expect that base level to be there for the clans. So you'd expect sales to actually probably be a little bit higher, if not better, than Mercs as well. All right, so we've got this franchise plan. This is a document that was presented to us on Discord. I don't know where it necessarily comes from. I don't know if it was from one of the PDFs or whatever, but let's go ahead and look at it. Again, I haven't looked at this. It says Mechwarrior is an iconic video game franchise set in the BattleTech universe. Over a dozen games launched since first release in 1989. Piranha has been faithful torchbearer, having developed and published over 20 titles in the venerable franchise. It's interesting that they're saying 20 titles. I don't know where that comes from. I don't know if that's Mech 5, MWO, Mech 5, and then each DLC. We've got 4. You could say 6. I don't know where they get the 20 titles. That's interesting. I don't know. I don't know where that comes from. So anyways, product USP and rationale. Again, don't know what USP means. Highly dedicated core audience. It's basically talking about you guys, us, me, everybody here. We tend to drop money, and that's really what it means. When they say core audience, it's that they have X amount of people that drop cash and spend the money. That's what that is. Piranha's knowledge and expertise with IP and the game design. Proven success with Mech 5 and its DLCs. Variation of 80-10-10 development model. That's something I'm not really familiar with. What I'm assuming is, the base game 80% and then 10% as far as DLCs. And I think this sort of goes hand in hand with what we're going to talk about, which is like a 3-year cycle, which would break it up, fits squarely with our publishing strategy. Franchise plan, existing products, Mechwarrior Online, continued support of the core community. Keep in mind there, it doesn't really say expand or anything new there. It just says Mechwarrior Online continued basically what we have. Mechwarrior 5, 2 more DLCs planned in Q4 Q23 and 1Q of 24. we're not surprised by that, but that at least is confirmation. Russ had said that in tweets in passing that the Dragon's Gambit was not going to be the last one. And that obviously just sort of reinforces that we're expecting another DLC already in Q1, which again, January, February, March. So expect something probably March, an announcement maybe in December. Mechwarrior Clans, a new announced September 15th, actually. Again, got announced a ways back on the podcast, but that's all right. Officially announced. I get that. An exciting new entry in the Mechwarrior franchise, modeled after the most successful Mechwarrior game, Mechwarrior 2. That's actually interesting. I think it's modeled in the sense of maybe it's story driven, just like Mech 2 was. It's the clan perspective, just like Mech 2 was. So that's actually that's cool. The artwork and stuff has sort of been reminiscent of Mech 2 as well. Release expected in 2024 across PC and consoles. Notice they say consoles. They don't say just Xbox. So it looks like PlayStation and Xbox. I really hope they ignore the older Xbox variations and PlayStations. I think this needs to be next gen as well. Expectations are in line with Mechwarrior 5 performance level, with sales over 1 million units over 3 years. Next Mechwarrior entries target release every 3 years, subject to discussions with Microsoft, who owns the IP. That's actually very interesting right here. This may allude to what Russ was talking about, which is, we had asked about, hey, are we ever going to see a multiplayer, another multiplayer? And he said, hey, if it had been a few months ago, I would have said no, but maybe I'll have more in the future. Is this what he's talking about? They're talking about basically releasing a product every 3 years. That's not DLC, by the way. That's like a product, a new title. And then I'm assuming it goes back to their sort of 80-10-10 development, which is then you basically continue doing DLCs for it. We're going to get more DLCs for Mech 5, and you can assume that's going to also mean we're going to get DLCs for the clans as well, but subject to discussions with Microsoft, who owns the IP. So obviously discussions, they haven't confirmed anything. They haven't said there is an extension, but they are planning, at least that's in their roadmap right here, target release every 3 years. So for those that don't know, again, the IP is owned by Microsoft. All the digital gaming rights are owned by Microsoft. This is very, very confusing to some people. Just think of it, the digital gaming, if it's on a console, PC, it's Microsoft owns it. If it's tabletop, that's Tops. It might be another company sooner, I think. Anyways, doesn't matter. Tops is like tabletop, and Catalyst Game Labs is a licensee, just like Piranha Games went to Microsoft, got a license to make a Mechwarrior title. So there's that. So just to clear that. So at least they have plans for it. So that's sort of news. Okay, so this is another slide that I think is really interesting. I'm going to go ahead and blow it up here just so you guys can see it a little bit better. This is first party game plans. Now this is why this is important here. IP owner Microsoft. You can see that Daybreak owns these. Again, EG7 owns Daybreak. Business model Premium Plus. I don't know what that means. It looks like, and again, this is, by the way, this is a title here. For those that don't know, this is a game that's being planned. And this is what we don't know. And the reason why, how do you know that, Phil? Start of investment is 2025. Target release is 2027. What is this? Well, let's talk about it. It's Mechwarrior game, no title. We already know it's the franchise. Microsoft owns it. Here's the thing. Number of players, small scale co-op multiplayer. I'm going to repeat that. Small scale co-op multiplayer, not free to play title. And the reason why I want to bring this up is business model. It says Premium Plus. I don't know what that means. I'm assuming it's like a premium, you pay X, but it doesn't say microtrans. I think that's what the MTX is, microtransactions. So is this basically saying, hey, you're going to Premium Plus content model, not live service? No, that's the other. That's what we have with like MWO or these other. No, this is DLC. The dev budget is approximately 20 million. And release date is 2027. Variation, again, going back to, so this is ideation phase, which I'm assuming it basically means idea phase at the moment, considering they're working on Mech 5 clans. But this is potentially a big one here. it potentially means we're going to see another online game, but a completely different experience than Mechwarrior Online. We've been asking, we've wondered what is going on. Are we going to get another title? And here we are. We're looking at potentially the next multiplayer Mechwarrior title being in idea concept phase. They're already budgeting at least 20 million. It could go up, could go, who knows? They're looking at hey, you purchase it and then you have DLCs, but small scale co-op multiplayer. We've heard Darren and Matt talk about titles like the game mode from Warzone DMZ, which has a PvE co-op sort of element. And so anyways, I have no idea. I don't know what this is, but it's definitely co-op multiplayer. Co-op usually, why would you put co-op and not just multiplayer? Well, co-op usually means PvE elements as well. So are we seeing a discussion of PvE, PvP elements? Anyways, so that, I think if anything, that's basically saying is this, I think this is exactly what Russ was talking about, which was, hey, I'll have more for you in the near future, but nothing's set in stone. And of course, it's 2023, it's about to be 2024. You're still looking at another year and months, year and a quarter left before investment even started. But there's that. So it's exciting from a multiplayer perspective. It's unfortunate that that's a long way away to be a multiplayer PvP fan. I guess the question would be, would you still be playing MWO in 3.5 years? So that's a long time away. So, but yeah, so obviously clans, we can assume they're going to be doing DLCs for the clans. Mercs isn't done with DLCs. They've got basically this on the radar as well. So it looks to be outside of something, like Microsoft, I guess, just saying no, unless they've already got the extension. Again, I think they would have already stated that that's already been locked down on the previous slide. I felt like if it was already guaranteed, they would have already had that here. So yeah, this is positive overall. But I just figured I'd talk about it, bring it to your attention, letting you guys sort of know the overall picture of what's going on with the IP right now and the game, and what to expect in the right now, the near future in 2024 with the clans, and then potentially more in 2027 timeframe with another multiplayer experience, co-op multiplayer experience. So anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Are you guys excited to hear this? Obviously if you're a PvP fan, is that too far out for you? If you're waiting for the clans or other DLC, have you guys been, the discussion earlier about like, hey, the base game maybe wasn't as attractive. Now that's got DLCs. You think the value is worth it? Let me know down in the comments if that's true. If you waited to purchase, did you purchase everything even when it was on EGS? Let me know again. And again, if you found this useful, if you found it informative, click the like button. And again, make sure to join us over on our live streams, and that is twitch.tv/NGNGTV. I have a link in the description. Also join us on Discord if you haven't done so already. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Until next time.